Hi everyone, this is Navnindi Krishnan from IIT and SCAPE classes. In this section, we are going to see GATE 2001 solutions of aerospace engineering for the topic aircraft performance. Total marks as under this section is 12 marks, in which two 1 marks has been asked and 5 2 marks has been asked. So total of 12 marks has been asked under this aircraft performance. In that first question, GATE 2012, GATE 2021, question number 12. Let VTS be the true airspeed of an aircraft flying at certain altitude where the density of air is rho, and VES be the equivalent airspeed if rho naught be the density of air at sea level. What is the ratio of equivalent speed of what is the ratio of V true airspeed by V equivalent airspeed is equal to dash. Okay. We know static pressure. We know stagnation pressure is P naught equal to P plus half rho V square. When we are taking density at corresponding altitude, the corresponding velocity is true airspeed. Same way, if we calculate stagnation pressure at sea level, it is P plus half rho naught V square. If density is taken as sea level density, then the corresponding speed is V equivalent airspeed. Stagnation pressure equal to static pressure plus dynamic pressure. Now I take the P on the other side. So what happens is it becomes P naught minus P equal to half rho V true airspeed square. Same way, second equation, this is the first equation. Same way, second equation, if I write P naught minus P equal to half rho naught V equivalent airspeed square. That is my second equation. Divide 1 divided by 2. When I divide 1 divided by 2, what happens? P naught minus P naught minus P R will become, when I divide this, it will become 1. Half will get cancelled off. So it will become rho by rho naught into V true airspeed square by V equivalent airspeed square. If I take rho naught by rho by rho naught on the other side, it will become rho naught by rho equal to V true airspeed square by V equivalent airspeed square. So when I take square root of this, it will become V true airspeed by V equivalent airspeed equal to root of rho naught by rho. So the correct option is option C. Okay. Next question. Question number 23. A jet aircraft has the following specification. Wing loading equal to 1800 Newton per meter square. Wing area equal to 30 meter square. Drag polar CD equal to 0.02 plus 0.04 CL square and CL max equal to 1.6. Take the density of air at sea level is 1.225 kilogram per meter cube. The speed at which the aircraft achieves maximum endurance in a steady and level flight at sea level is dash. Okay. What is the given data? Wing loading is given, which is nothing but W by S equal to 1800 Newton per meter square. And wing area is given 30 meter square. and drag polar is given as 0.02, CD equal to 0.02 plus 0.04 CL square. CL max is given as 1.6, and okay, sea level density is given as 1.225 kilogram per meter cube. 1.225 kilogram per meter cube. We know endurance for jet engine aircraft, Whitworth range endurance equation for jet engine aircraft is given as E equal to 1 by thrust specific fuel consumption into CL by CD into ln of W naught by W1. Endurance max corresponds to CL by CD max, okay, which is nothing but L by D max condition, which corresponds to drag minimum condition, which corresponds to drag minimum condition. Drag minimum condition is nothing but CD naught equal to CDI. That is nothing but 0.02 equal to 0.4 CL square. From this, CL is nothing but root of 0.02 divided by 0.04. We get it as 0.707. When I substitute V equal to 2 into W by S rho CL corresponding to drag minimum condition, that is CL minimum drag. CL minimum drag. We get 2 into 1800 divided by rho is corresponding to sea level condition 1.225 into CL for minimum drag is 0.707. When I substitute V for maximum velocity at maximum endurance is equal to 64.472 meter per second. Okay, this is an NAT type. Okay, next question. For a conventional fixed wing aircraft in a 360-degree turn, that is question number 30. For a conventional fixed wing aircraft in a 360-degree inverted loop maneuver, what is the load factor N at the topmost point of the loop? Assume the flight to be steady at the topmost point. This is a MCQ type, multiple choice question, 2-mark question actually. Option A is given as n equal to 1. Option B is n less than 1. Option C is n equal to -1. Option D is n greater than -1. That is, first we have to consider it is an inverted loop, inverted vertical loop. Inverted vertical loop means that is the airplane is upside down. That is the airplane is upside down like this. Okay, it is having an inverted vertical loop. So when it is inverted, if the aircraft is going in this manner, in the inverted vertical loop, what happens is when the aircraft is at topmost point where lift is also in the same direction, weight is also in the same direction, so load factor will be greater than -1. When it is in the steady level flight, that is when it is steady level flight, n will negative load factor will be when lift is balanced by weight, it will be n equal to -1. But the maximum load factor in a negative maneuver, that is inverted maneuver, is always greater than -1. So option is option D. So if we take a flight envelope, if I plot load factor versus true as, that is velocity, load factor versus velocity, which is my Venn diagram or flight envelope. If I take negative on the top side, and positive axis on the bottom side, negative axis on the top side, and positive axis on the bottom side. So the maximum load factor achieved by this airplane at this juncture is n is greater than -1 if it is an inverted flight. If it is a normal flight, load factor axis will be positive on top, then the maximum load factor achieved will be always greater than 1. But since it is an inverted vertical loop, so maximum load factor achievable by this airplane is n greater than -1. Okay. Next question. Question number 35. Which of the following, it is MSQ, multiple select question. It is 2 mark question. Question number 35. Which of the following statements is true? Option A, service ceiling is higher than the absolute ceiling for piston engine for a piston propeller aircraft. Option B, for a given aircraft, stall speed increases with respect to altitude. Option C, everything else remains the same. Tailwind increases the range of an aircraft. Option D, for a jet aircraft constrained to fly at constant altitude, there exists an altitude where range is maximum. Okay. Okay. First, we'll see what are the first points. First of all, absolute ceiling is the maximum altitude the aircraft can fly. Since absolute ceiling is not achievable in practical flights, they defined an altitude called as service ceiling. For piston prop aircraft, the service ceiling is supposed to be 100 feet per minute. That is nothing but it is 100 feet per minute. Okay. So service ceiling higher than absolute ceiling, which is not practically possible. So, because absolute ceiling is the maximum altitude achievable by a airplane, which is in real case, absolute ceiling is never achievable. So, they defined an altitude called as service ceiling, which is always less than the absolute ceiling. So, first statement is false. Second statement, for a given stall speed, for a given aircraft, stall speed increases in with increase in altitude. First, what is stall speed? V stall is nothing but 2W rho s CL max. V stall is inversely proportional to square root of density. As altitude increases, density decreases. As altitude increases, density decreases. Thereby, when density decreases, what happens? V stall increases. When nothing else remains, when all the other parameter remains constant, when density decreases, what happens? Stalling speed increases. So statement B is correct. Next, statement C. Everything else remains same. Tailwind increases the range of an aircraft. Yeah, tailwind always increases the range of an aircraft because it assists in the direction of flying. That is, what is tailwind? When the aircraft is flying like this, it is assisting you, that is, wind is flowing in this direction is called as, that is in the same direction of flight is called as tailwind. So when there is a tailwind, range increases. When there is an headwind, range decreases. So option C is correct. Option D, For a jet aircraft constrained to fly at constant altitude, there exists an altitude where range is maximum. Okay, range for a Brickworth range equation for jet engine aircraft is given as 2 into root of 2 by rho s into 1 by thrust specific fuel consumption into CL power 1 by 2 by CD into root of W naught minus root of W1. So here range is directly proportional to inversely proportional to square root of rho. So as altitude increases, density decreases, thereby range increases. So always there exists an altitude at which the range is maximum. So option D is also correct. So hence option B, C, D are correct for question number 35 for multiple select question. Okay. Next, question number 41. It is NAT 2-mark question. A finite wing of an elliptical platform with aspect ratio 10, whose section is a symmetrical airfoil placed in a uniform flow at 5-degree angle of attack. The induced drag coefficient for this aircraft is. What are the given data? Aspect ratio is given as 10 and alpha is given as 5-degree. Since they told elliptical platform, the Oswald lift deficiency factor is equal to 1. CDI for they asked us to find out what is the induced drag coefficient. Induced drag coefficient is nothing but CL square by pi E AR. For a finite wing, A naught is lift curve slope is equal to 2 pi. Lift curve slope for a symmetrical airfoil or any airfoil is equal to 2 pi according to finite wing theory. So lift curve slope for a this is lift curve slope for an infinite wing is equal to 2 pi. So lift curve slope for a finite wing is given as A equal to A naught plus 1 by A naught by pi E AR. If A is in A and A naught in per radian. Okay, 2 pi is in per radian. So if I substitute, it is 2 pi plus 2 pi plus 1 plus 2 pi by pi. Oswald lift efficiency factor equal to 1. Aspect ratio equal to 10. When I substitute, I get A equal to 5.236 per radian. But alpha is given in degree, so you have to convert per radian into per degree or alpha to radian. Either one we have to convert. So I'm convert A. A equal to 5.236 per radian. If I have to convert it into per degree, I have to multiply it by pi by 180 per degree. So my lift curve slope becomes as 0.0914 per degree. So lift coefficient is nothing but for a symmetrical airfoil, it is nothing but lift curve slope into alpha. Alpha is 5-degree, lift curve slope is 0.0914 into 5, so it becomes 0.457. Lift coefficient is 0.457. So if I substitute in this equation, already we know that CL square is 0.457 square divided by pi. Oswald lift efficiency factor is 1. Aspect ratio equal to 10. Then induced drag coefficient becomes as CDA is equal to 0.00665. Okay. If they ask you to round off to 3 decimal places, it will become 0.007 induced drag coefficient. Okay. Next, question number 53. An airplane weighing 5,500 kg, it is in a steady level flight with the airspeed of 225 meter per second. The pilot initiates a steady pull-up maneuver with a radius of curvature 775 meter. The location of center of gravity and center of pressure and point of action T of tail force are marked in the figure. Use G equal to 9.81 meter per second square. Neglect drag on the tail and assume that tail force is vertical. Only vertical. Okay. Assuming the engine thrust and drag to be equal and opposite and collinear. The drag force, the collinear, the tail force is dash kilonewton. Round up to 1 decimal place. Okay. First, what are the given data? They are given weight equal to 5,500 kg. Velocity at which we are flying is 225 meter per second. And radius of turn, it is a pull-up maneuver. So radius of turn is given as 775 meter. So for a pull-up maneuver, radius of turn is nothing but V square by G into N minus 1. So we know radius of turn R equal to 775 meter, that is equal to V square. Velocity is also given 225 square. They asked us to use acceleration due to gravity to be 9.81 into N minus 1. So by this I get load factor to be equal to 7.659. So from this I know lift is nothing but lift by W is nothing but load factor. So lift is nothing but N into W. Okay. First W is in kg, so I have to convert it into Newton. If I multiply it by acceleration due to gravity 9.81, then we get it in Newton. So it is 53955 Newton. Substitute that 7.659 into 53955. So I get lift is equal to 413,241.345 Newton. Okay. This is the lift force acting on the wing because they told that thrust is balanced by drag. So now you have to take only lift force and your tail force. So if you have to do a moment balance, what happens is, if I have to do a moment balance, what happens is, now we have to consider tail force with respect to CG. If I take a moment balance with respect to CG, since center of pressure is the point where lift is acting and weight is acting at CG itself. So if I take moment balance at both CG, this weight will not contribute anything because it is at the CG itself. So tail force, okay, there is a tail force. Now, what is the distance between lift and center of gravity? It is L into 20 centimeter. L into 20 centimeter equal to, because it is balanced by the tail force which is acting downward. Because if lift has to be balanced by because there should be a moment balance here, tail force should be acting downward because all the other forces are balanced. So if it is tail force equal to tail force into perpendicular distance is 550 plus 20. 550 plus 20. So it is 570 centimeter. We already know what is lift force. Lift force is 413,241.345 into 20. That is equal to tail force into 570 centimeter. Because 20 is also in centimeter, 570 is also centimeter. So we need not to convert into meter term. Both are in centimeter. So if I take 570 on the other side, I get thrust tail force as 14,499.696 Newton. If I have to round off to one decimal places, that is equal to 14499.7 Newton. This is my tail force. Okay. My next question, it is also an NIT tech. A jet engine aircraft weighing 10,000 kg and has a elliptical wing with a span of 10 meter and area of 30 meter square. The CD naught for aircraft is 0.025. The maximum speed of the aircraft in steady and level flight at sea level is 100 meter per second. The density of air at sea level is 1.225 kilogram per meter cube, and take G equal to 10 meter per second square. The maximum thrust developed by the aircraft. Okay. Maximum thrust developed by the engine at sea level is dash Newton. We know that thrust available equal to thrust required, that is nothing but drag. Thrust available is equal to drag, that is equal to k1 into v square plus k2 divided by v square. Okay. Now k1 is nothing but, where k1 is nothing but CD naught into half rho s. Here density at sea level, so it is rho naught s. That is equal to 0.025 into half. Rho naught is nothing but 1.225 into 30. So we get it as K1 as 0.459375. Now K2, where K2 is nothing but it is KW square by half rho s, where K is nothing but 1 by pi E A R into W square divided by half into rho naught s, because we have to take sea level. They asked sea level density. So if I substitute that, 1 divided by 5, E elliptical wing, so Oswald lift efficiency factor is 1, aspect ratio is nothing but b square by s, aspect ratio is nothing but b square by s, so it is b square 10 square divided by 30, that is 100 by 30 is the aspect ratio. 10 square is nothing but 100, 100 divided by 30 is the aspect ratio, into weight square into weight square. Weight square is, this is in kg, weight is in kg. So if I have to convert it into Newton, I have to multiply it by acceleration due to gravity. The acceleration due to gravity is given here as 10 meter per second square. So if I multiply it by 10, it will become 1 lakh Newton. So multiply it by 1 lakh square divided by R, rho naught is 1.225. Yes, wing area is 30 meter square. Substitute. What I get is is 51968,961.01. So substitute here again. So the maximum thrust available at flight velocity of 100 meter, that is maximum speed of 100 meter per second. So thrust available equal to K1. What is K1? K1 is 0.459375. 0.459375 velocity square. So we know that it is 100 square plus K2 is nothing but 51968,961.01. 51968,961.01 divided by 100 square, because velocity square is nothing but 100 square, that is the maximum velocity. If I equate, if I see whatever after solving this, I get my answer to be equal to 9790.698 Newton. Okay. Okay. So the thing is, yeah, here the tail force they asked in kilonewton, so we calculated only in Newton. So in Newton we got thrust force as, tail force as T equal to 14499.696 Newton. So if it has to be in kilonewton, what I have to do is divided by 1000. So it will become 14.499696 kilonewton. If I round off to one decimal places, it will become 14.5 kilonewton. Okay. So previously we calculated in Newton, but they asked in kilonewton. So if I substitute, it will become in kilonewton. Okay. With this, GATE 2001 solutions for aircraft performances over. Thank you.